me show you what I got working on, or what we just did. Man, alright guys, I'm so sorry. You see I'm doing this silly business with this USB cord. I don't know, I'll get it figured out eventually. Yeah. Why does it look so terrible? Man. Okay, here's what we did. The fuel takeoff from the gas tank is right here. And the fuel pump is on the complete opposite side of the tank. So we ran a new line from the takeoff to the pump intake on the other side. And we added a T-in to add a sight level tube to see the fuel level in the tank. And so we ran this up, and it's about yay high. And what we're going to do, because we don't want to suck air into the pump, we'll have a plug in this line, like so. And so anytime I want to check the fuel level, of course I can't do this running, but I'll shut the system off. I'll pull the plug out. The level in the tank, in the tube, will be equal because they're under the same pressure, atmospheric pressure. I'll be able to determine if I need how much fuel I got in here, and easy peasy. Glad this is see-through. So I'm just going to stick this plug back in, just temporarily, so nothing falls in it. And I'm happy with that. Let's go to the other side and make sure everything is, hook up to the pump and finish that. Once we run everything, we'll go back around and check all these hose clamps, fittings, and make sure nothing weird is going on. We'll fasten this or zip tie this up so it's not doing that kind of thing. And yeah, after we're all done run the fuel line, we'll do a leak test to see, or to make sure that we're not fooling ourselves. Nobody likes a leaking fuel line. Nobody. Got it. I'm going to move my tools over real quick. Give me a minute, guys. Here we go. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom, boom. Hey. I got these magnetic trays. Big fan of these. You put all your parts in and they stick without falling out. I got a few of these around the garage. They come great when you got a bunch of small little pieces, bolts, and whatnot. Okay, tools over here. Move, I'm starting to have too many things out right now. Maybe after I run these fuel lines, I'll clean the garage real quick and clean up my tools so I'm not fighting everything. Okay, here we go. Go for a little ride. Yeehaw! 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 You guys can look at my nothingness for a sec. Okay. Get you guys nice and close so you can see what's going on. Here we go. Okay. Back to the fuel pump side. Drink some water. Gotta stay hydrated. Okay. Here we go. So this is the hose we ran from the gas tank takeoff. And we got enough length here. In fact, it's a little long actually, but that's okay. We're going to... Let me go check the other side. I don't want to mess myself up. I'm going to have to do this once. Okay. Yeah, good thing I checked. The weight of the hose just sitting here is cocking the other side, almost not kinking it, but not doing what I want. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to push it back just a touch. Just, I can feel it moves about maybe an inch back and forth. And I'm going to push it back when I do my measurement so I know I got enough slack in this line. I'm going to put this pump back to where it wants to be for mounting position. And again, this is flexible hose. It doesn't have to be that accurate. It'll work. It'll work. Whatever I come up with, it'll work. Okay. I'm just going to mark it with my finger. In fact, you know what? Let me get a marker. Let me get a marker. And I might have to pull it back through to cut it properly. Huh. You ever just lose all your permanent markers? Has that ever happened? That's all time. Oh, got one. Okay. So I'm going to push this back to take that kink off. That feels good. And I'm just going to guesstimate where that barb fitting starts. I can see my pump holes are lined up right now, or at least one of them is. It's close enough. Push that kink back. I'm just going to mark this kind of generously where I think it's going to be. I think I can... Man, this marker doesn't really... Let me clean the tip off. It will not work for this hose. That's sure annoying when you have a permanent marker and it won't mark on whatever you're trying to do. Okay. Push the kink back. Whoop. Try to mark it. No. Oh, man. Okay. It's good enough. Yeah, and I can tell I'm not going to be able to cut it. So I'm going to pull it through the other side and cut it real quick, and I'll shove it back through. I'm going to double check this. I'm a little concerned. I didn't get it right the first time. I'm going to double check. Yeah, you know what? That kink is more severe than I thought it was. So I'm glad I double checked. Measure twice, cut once, boys and girls. Okay, let's mark this thing again. About there. Whenever you're marking something, the cleaner your mark line, the easier it is to cut. You're not guessing where you need to go. Especially on a permanent marker, the mark can be quite thick. Particularly when you're doing something rough like this. Okay. Yeah, I feel pretty good about that. I think it's good enough. Okay. Yeah, I see the mark there. I think that'll be good enough. Okay. So I'm gonna pull the hose through the other side, and I'll give it a quick cut, and I'll shove it back through. We'll hook it back up. That's the game plan, anyways. Oh man, both marks I made were about 2 inches off. So measure twice, cut once. Okay, nice clean cut. try to shove it back through. Man, it looks way shorter off the buggy than it does than you think it would be, but I don't know. Okay, here we go. Close this side. Oh, got it. Woo! Okay, that feels good. See if it came through. No, it did not. Where'd it go? Oh, I see. Playing games. You're between 2 chairs. That's no good. Oh man, I might have to take this passenger chair out, or a seat out. Oh, it's so tight. Let's see here. Maybe. Might be able to get it without taking it out. Man, it's tight. I can barely get my hand where I want to go. I can't even get my hand where it's supposed to go in, so I'm just kind of going blind here. I think I got it. Oh, got it. What I'm talking about. I think I got it. Oh yeah, there it is. Okay. See it peeking through. There she is, right there. That's the hose. Okay. Not a whole lot of room to play with. In fact, I probably should have left another inch on or so, just to make this easier. Yeah, that's okay. It'll still work. Probably should have left it a little long. That's my bad. It'll still work. Okay. So what I'm going to do, because I can't really, I can't install the pump until this hose is on and clamped on good. So I'm going to stick it on this barb fitting real quick. Oh, let me get a hose clamp on there. That would help. And I'm going to put it to the left like this so I can get at it with the tool. Sometimes your clamps, they're too tight to even get the hose on the barb if your clamp is there. So sometimes you got to loosen up the clamp. Put on the hose, or you can get it out of the way, whatever works. Okay, I'm gonna shove it on this barb fitting, hopefully. Yep. And it's almost, man, it's tight. Okay, it's on there. It's probably tough to see. Here. It's on there. I'm gonna tighten this hose clamp down, probably like this, so I can get at it on this side with the tool, and then I'll probably mount the pump up. You don't have to worry about it anymore. Okay. Let me get my socket wrench in there or not. Let's try this. The reason this is my favorite wrench, the biggest reason, let me show you. Let me get another wrench. Here's my other socket wrench I'm using. The very biggest reason is the way that they get adjusted to go left or right, or clockwise or counterclockwise. all the time when I'm using this one, I'm having to fight this stupid switch back and forth. So I'll be turning, and then my thumb will hit it, or something will catch it, and then it stops, and I know that something's been hitting it, and I got to readjust it or fandangle it again. Pain in the neck. That's what I like so much about this one. There's nothing that really catches here. So you can get in tight spots without it catching anything or changing your rotation. Tried and true design here. Totally sold. And again, this wrench is, man, at least 10 years old, maybe 15 years old. I know it doesn't look it, but this is a great, great wrench. My favorite one. Okay. So I got this hose on all the way. I'm going to try to tighten it. Man, it's tight. Everything's so tight here. Let me pull out a little bit more. Should I get this bad boy in here? An extension. Yeah, I have to use a flathead. This would be easier if I didn't have this other side on. Maybe I'll take this other side off so I can get some better play on this pump. You can see I got a little bit of fuel in the line still. I don't have to drain. So let me get something to catch that. And I'm not really a fan of reusing fuel once you take it out of the machine, whatever you're doing. You could easily use it again on something, but usually when you're dumping fluids or moving them around like this, you catch dirt and other debris, and that's not good to be putting through your system. So we're going to skip out on reusing the fuel, and it's not a whole lot. I'm sure there's more in this line, but I got a bucket here. I'll dump it in. So let me undo this. Let me do this clamp. Get out of the way. Find my knife. It's in my pocket. Again, there's no way I'm getting this. Can you see that? There's no way I'm getting this super hard hose off this barb fitting. That's on there permanently. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to stick my bucket underneath, and I'm going to cut this hose off. Again, you just slice it right down the barb fitting, and you don't want to put too much pressure on when you're doing this because you can score the barbs pretty easily. And if you score them bad enough, it's going to leak. So try not to score them too bad. Okay. You can see it's already coming through a little bit. Let me see how much of a mess I can not make. Oh, it wasn't too bad. Okay. Oh, pump had some in there too. The one good thing about two-stroke fuel mixture, gas oil, the oil helps stabilizes the gas, so it'll last longer than normal gas when it's just sitting in a tank or sitting in the line. So that's pretty sweet. That is one benefit of two-stroke fuel. Okay, I'm gonna cut this first zip tie to get it out of the way. Okay, we're going to cut it. Missed it. Okay, just temporarily push it out of the way. I don't think there's any more fuel in that thing. Okay. All right, I got more freedom now. I hope that hose isn't cut. Or not that. The discharge line is gone. Okay. So let me try to retighten this thing again. Oh, I'm going to unplug these wires. These are nice butt connectors. I'm not a fan of doing a lot of temporary things like using zip ties and these kind of butt connectors things because it's just one more area for it to fail. Normally I'd either solder this together and have it heat wrapped or some other permanent means. Not a fan. But right now, because I've had so many issues with the Buggy, and it seems like every time I ride it, I got to take it, the whole thing back apart and put it back together, that I've done a lot of things that I'm not a big fan of. They work, but not a fan of. Eventually, I'd like to get real brackets for everything and real mounts for everything. But right now, it wouldn't make a whole lot of sense because, like I said, every single time I ride this thing, something breaks or messes up, and I got to redo it or adjust it. And the temporary stuff is good enough for now. That light right in my face. Okay. Sorry, guys. Okay, I got it tight enough. I might be able to get a wrench or my socket. I'm gonna get an extension for my socket wrench. See if I can make this work. I just had a fight. Sometimes these, especially on this old wrench that I haven't used it in a long time, the ball holder that keeps these sockets on is real tight. I didn't grease it up. I should have. And I can't, because my hands are kind of dirty and greasy right now. I can't, it happened that time, but I initially couldn't pull it off. If you're in a tight squeeze of trying to get a socket off, you can take a flathead screwdriver and just stick it underneath and just twist it. Oops. Stick it underneath the socket, just give it a quick twist, and it'll, oh gosh. Man, camera work is so tough, guys. Here we go. Socket, screwdriver, quick twist. Now I gotta hold it up here. Quick twist, and it pops right off. Probably couldn't see it. Too bad. We'll get you next time. Okay. Especially on these smaller socket, these smaller sockets, they're tough to grab onto. Yeah, see if I can get it with this bad boy now. Like I was saying, on these small hose clamps, and maybe almost all hose clamps, the socket wrench needs a little bit of resistance to work properly. And I don't have it right now, so you have to hold the socket to make sure it doesn't rotate back and do nothing for you. So we get this hose clamp in the right position. I'm going to lock her down. Whoa. I think I got the right size on. Boy, might not be the right size. I got all these hose clamps. No, it's not in the right size. I got all these hose clamps, and the adjustment head is all different size. So let me grab the proper size. Pull the wrench. Now. Okay. I had to go to a smaller socket wrench. I had to go to 1/4-inch drive because I didn't have a 7/32. I didn't have a 7/32 and 3/8 drive. I could have used an adapter, but I think this will help me out more because it takes less resistance to work properly. Oh man, that's not even the right size. Well, let me go to round 2 real quick. Let me see what else I got. Maybe I'm just being crazy. Let me see if this fits. There's a 1/4-inch socket on here. Let's see if it fits in here. Yeah, that doesn't fit. You know, I think it's metric. It's not. It's no size. That's cool. Dig it deep. Dig it deep. Try to find the right size, guys. I think it's a metric clamp. That would be silly. Let's see here. Oh my gosh, it is metric. Okay, well, it's a 6 millimeter, guys. What you gonna do? Okay, now we got the right size socket. Let's try to do this. And again, I know you guys can't see. I'm sorry. Almost done with this, and then we'll be able to see again. Okay, here we go. Just gonna tighten this up. So that helps a little bit. Oh wow, this 1/4 inch is a lot. I don't want to hold as much to get the adjustment out. It's nice. I'll start using this one. Get close. And you want to be careful. These are really tiny clamps. You don't want to break them. I think I'm getting there. And sometimes it will happen. You'll over tighten. I'm gonna check with the flathead because it's so small. What will happen sometimes? You over tighten the hose clamp, but you don't realize it, and the thread starts skipping on the tail. And it doesn't take much to break it off, break the thread off, break the tail up, or break with the adjustment screw loose. You know, screw you up. Okay, this is good. You know, this. I'm gonna call that good. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and stick this thing back in there. Something's fighting me. You know. There we go. It's caught on something. Okay. Now I should be able to look all the way through this little gap and see a flat hose. I'll make sure it's not kinked. That would be terrible. Yeah, okay. I think I'm good. I can see the hose laying flat all the way across behind the seat. Nice and tucked in. So we're going to be ready to lock this bad boy down. Let's get at her. I can do the discharge side without having to move it around because it's way out in the open right here. No one can mess around. I forgot to, I went to the hardware store today and I forgot to get a 90 for this. That's okay. It'll still work. It'll just hang out in the air a little bit. Let me find my bolts for this pump. Okay. Got our nice 7/16 bolt setup. Or no, these aren't 7/16. These are 1/4 inch bolts. I'm sorry. 1/4 inch bolt, 7/16 socket. I normally, my favorite bolt size or thread size has been SA 3/8 coarse my whole life. And I try to use it, or I had been trying to use it for almost everything. But a lot of times it's overkill. A 3/8 bolt is crazy strong. I forget the the tensile strength on a 3/8 bolt. I think it's like 10,000 pounds or something outrageous. But that's, like I said, that's overkill for almost everything that I'm trying to do. So I've been using 1/4 inch a lot of places on this buggy, and it's been cool to get used to a different bolt size for everything. And I try to use the same bolt size for everything, so I only have to use the same tool setup while I'm working on the thing. Okay, and of course I also, another thing, I used to be a big fan of a lock washer, so I'd use a normal nut instead of a lock nut, which is what this here. It's got a little nylon ring in here that locks down on the thread. I used to be not like these because you have to thread them on with a tool all the way, even up until you tighten it. Where a normal nut you can just thread on real quick. I got away from using the lock washer because it was kind of chewing up what I was. Every time you take it apart, you got to put it back together and clean up the little tails that the lock washer cuts into. And I had some issues. I forgot what I was using them on, but they vibrated loose, and I've had better luck with these. So I use lock washers now. I'm sorry, lock nuts now instead of lock washers. And the whole intention is this whole thing is vibrating like mad the entire time it's running. And if you didn't use some sort of thread locker or a lock washer or lock nut, the whole machine would vibrate apart. In fact, some old machines are notorious for falling apart. Old Kawasaki dirt bikes, older Suzuki four-wheelers, they are notorious for falling apart. They just vibrate themselves loose. And I'm sure this thing would do the exact same thing, so we're going to try to prevent that. I get my setup here for these next bolts. I think I'm just going to go ahead and lock this thing down. I didn't cut any new holes. I haven't moved it. I know it works right here in this position. I got that hose clamp there locked down. I'm just going to go ahead and finish it off here. Oops. I'm going to do this harder side first that I can't get a socket on. And this is just bolted to the floor pan of the buggy. It's something like an 1/8 inch thick aluminum. It's pretty strong. Strong enough anyways for this pump. Like I said, the only thing that sucks about these lock nuts is you have to use a tool to thread them all the way on. And I want to say they're intended for one-time use. I think that's probably what the guidelines would say if you were to look up any technical specs or industrial specs. I think they only let you use them once, but I'm not using them on an industrial machine, and I'm going to take that risk. Oh, I can use socket on too. Okay, look at this. Double socket wrench, double your pleasure. There we go. When you're using two socket wrenches like this, whoops, you can rotate from both sides and double your speed, which is nice, especially when you're putting these silly lock nuts on that you have to thread on all the way with the tool. I don't have a whole lot of play here, at least on the top, for socket wrench movement. Okay, so I'm just going to tighten this down. Not too tight. I know it's not going anywhere. In fact, this pump came with a nice rubber vibration isolator or electrical isolator, whatever it is. And if I tighten it down too much, it'll squeeze it out. And I'm not trying to do that. So I'm just going to lock it down just a little bit more than, or a little bit less than I'd say than a hard mount that I'd be doing. Let me finish this other one off. Okay, that's good enough. Okay, there are the bolts installed. There's one side. Whoop, there's the other side. And if you can see, oh, let me get back. If you can see deep inside there, look how tight that is. Perfect. Okay. It's time to run the discharge side of the pump. It's nice and firm. It's not going anywhere. I got enough clearance around where it's not going to be vibrating or touching anything or possible grounding out if something stupid happens, or sparking or whatever. Okay, so let's do the other side now. I'm going to take the old line off. You can see it's hanging there, flipping around. I'm going to take it off all the way to my splitter at the back, where I split it off into 3 lines to go to the 3 carbs. Okay. Water. I'm going to go to the back of the vehicle, figure out where I can take this main fuel line off. Hopefully somewhat easily. Let's see. Yeah, it shouldn't be too bad. Let me show you the mess I got going on. Mess of wires and lines and all sorts of nonsense. So this is right there. That's where it connects. And you can see it runs up forward. And you can kind of see it hanging there. But this is the, runs up into there, 90s up into a header. I got a pressure gauge, fuel pressure gauge there. And it splits into a T, which I don't think I can show you. Oh yeah, right there. Tucked way up in there. There's the splitter. So it comes through that. It's hard pipe with that gauge. So hard pipe into a splitter, and then it takes 3 smaller lines, and those go to the carbs. So we're going to replace all that. The header will stay in place, but the flex tubing is going to come off. So you guys get to look at me while I take this off real quick. I hope. Yep. Yeah. Tool. Anytime you're going, you got to get underneath the vehicle or something. Normally it's best, if you don't know what exact size you're working with, bring a few different sizes with you. Let me get my creeper out. Oh, okay. Can you guys see me? Yeah, you can see. I'm on my creeper. This is my my dad bought me this, I think, for my birthday in high school. I've had it ever since. It's a pretty good creeper. I haven't had any issues with it, and it's been through a lot. So let me see here. If I can find. Oh, I should have brought some snips with me. I got the zip tied up. The whole thing all zip tied up so it doesn't go anywhere. Let me get some snips. Nice big towel with me. Okay. Cut some snips out, or some snips out of the way. I'm going to cut some zip ties out of the way so I can actually see what I'm doing here. Careful not to cut anything while you're cutting zip ties. And a lot of times, you don't want to pull your zip ties too tight, because if you ever have to cut them, you might have to cut what you're underneath or nick it, and you don't want to do that. Right there, I cut all these zip ties. I got the fuel line running with the wire, with all the wires, and using the same zip ties to hold it all together, so I have to cut everything here. That's okay. Okay, so we almost got all the zip ties. I think we got one more. There we go. Woo! Okay. Zip ties are out of the way. Oh, man. I just knocked me in the face. Zip ties out of the way. I see a hose clamp I got to take off. So I'm gonna grab, I think I'm going to use a flathead for this one. It's so weird when at work and we're doing presentations or talking on the phone. Let's set some fuel dripping on it. You got to keep in mind that you're just a representative of the company. It's not I. When you're talking, it's always we. And the same thing kind of applies here, I'd say, just to try to get the audience, you guys, involved, make you feel like you're part of the bunch. Even though I don't know if anybody's even watching right now, but I'm talking to you. If you're watching this video, I'm talking to you. Thank you for watching. You're awesome. And we're going to do this together. I hope one day we'll be able to participate more together. Make this a team effort. I need to keep in mind it's a we. I can't do any of this by myself. Okay, we're having trouble with the screwdriver. We're going to switch to socket. I think. You guys can't. Oh, look, check out my avocado socks. These are cool, huh? You see that? Oops. Those are cool, huh? Avocado socks. There was avocado socks. Avocado. I'm not even a big fan of avocados. The taste. I like the taste of them. Get a real texture problem with them though. A little mushy gushy for me. Still eat every once in a while. Not a top pick. I roll my socks over my boots. Two reasons. One, it keeps my socks from getting pulled down into my boot and then wrinkling up inside on my feet. That's uncomfortable. And two, it's over 90 degrees right now, and it helps get some airflow, at least down to my ankles a little bit. My feet don't really sweat for whatever reason. I think I checked, it was almost 93 when I was right before I started working on this thing. And it is kind of humid, but I can feel my boots right now, my toes. They're not sweaty. They're a little moist, but they're certainly not sweaty. I don't know why I don't sweat down there, but man, does it help to have things dry. And it's always good to have nice boots on. You don't beat your feet up or have something drop on them. Or it only takes stepping on a nail a couple times to learn your lesson. Okay. Let's get our knife out. Whatever I did with it. Oh, we got a knife. It's a pocket. Okay. There we go. Cut this bad boy hose. Again, just going to cut it along the arm fitting. Get it to release. Pull it right off. There's a little bit of fuel in this left, I think. A couple of drifts, nothing major. Okay, clamp. Okay, there's the old Junko line. Can you see? Where's the camera? Oh, it's over here. Okay, got the old line off. Here it is. Go in the trash, guys. Go in the trash. So now I can take the new hose line, and I think what I'm going to do, because this spot's a lot harder to get at, I think I'm going to start on this side and then run it back. Let's see if we make that happen. Okay, take this fancy new blue hose. I really like the color of this hose. It's so cool. This translucent blue, whatever it is, aqua blue. Man, this hose is so cool. Okay, let me adjust this camera again so you guys can see better. All right. You guys want to see what I'm doing? Maybe that would be better. Instead of staring at my body. Let me adjust this camera again. I'm gonna stick it right on the ground, I think. That's good enough. No. They probably make head mounts or something, or chest mounts for these cameras. This Logitech Brio. We'll put that on the list. All right. Take this hose. Let me see if I can shoot what I'm working on. It's more interesting for sure. Yeah, it's pretty tight in there. See if I can wrap it around this dude. Let's see here. Does that show it? Where's my hand? Oh yeah, right there. Okay. Yeah. Let me wrap it around this. Okay. Something, something, something. I suck at camera work. Okay, here we go. Got my trusty hose. I'm gonna find a trusty hose clamp. Get the right position on the hose clamp so I can do it correctly. We're gonna go ahead and wait a minute. The creeper's stuck. My hair is getting all goobed up from the floor. Long hair is sweet for everything except working on things. I need to get a hat or something. Okay, here we go. We're gonna run. Oh, you know what? Let me run it properly so I don't have to do that afterwards. Yeah, I'm gonna do it. One sec. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna run the hose from the fuel pump. I'm not gonna hook it on the fuel pump side, but I'm gonna run it from that point and through the obstacle course to make sure that I don't have to do it afterwards. It'll make things a little easier for us. Here we go. Oh, okay. Okay, here we go. So we're going to put our hose clamp on. Boom. And, oh, I got a nasty, you know what? This is not my cut. Look how nasty that cut is. Look at that. Wait, let me turn it sideways. Look at that nasty cut. That was the dude at the store that cut it. That's nonsense. Ain't nobody want that. Look at that nasty cut. Okay, we're going to cut that off. So with the fresh end. Good thing I checked. Easier said than done, apparently. I'm having trouble seeing the hose because I'm staring at the sky right now, and it's kind of all adjusting the brightness of my eyes. I can't see what I'm doing. Okay, let's see what we got. Here's the end result. It's a little cleaner. At least it's straight. Ugh. Oh, there we go. At least it's straight. Okay. There's no messing around with that. Take the hose. Put the clamp on. Stick it on. Oh, almost lost it. Almost lost the camera. Here we go. Stick it right in that barb fitting. It slid on pretty nice. Oh, sorry, guys. Okay, it slid on pretty nice. You can see what I was doing. Okay, I'm gonna tighten this hose clamp down and go back to the pump. Finish it up. I don't know if I can. One second, guys. I'll be right back. Okay. Nope. Okay, we tighten down this hose clamp. On this fuel header for the carbs. I think I am. There you go. Way. Okay. Tighten this bowl right up. Oh man, this quarter inch drive socket wrench is way easier to use with these hose clamps. I'm gonna start using this. Okay, man, that was easy. Ooh, I'm gonna move it down. I'm almost on the last barb. So we're gonna scoot it up just a little bit. Okay. Lock it down. Okay, feel good about that. Oops. Okay, I'm going to go back to the pump now, and now that my fuel line to the header is connected, I can go to the other side and mount it up. So I move the camera, go to the other side. Ooh, boom. Ba-boom. Okay, here we go. How's that? See? Eventually, I'm going to get a real setup. I promise, guys. I promise. Okay. So here's the fuel line ran from the header over there, and I'm going to just, whoops, just make sure nothing's catching on it or anything. Make sure it's where I want it. Yeah, that seems pretty good. Okay, this one doesn't have to be perfect because I want a little bit of play in it. And something like this, it's going to look like, whoops, something like that. Now I know this is not proper. I should have a 90 on this. I don't have one. I should have bought one. I went to the hardware store today. I should have bought one. I forgot about it. Let me check my box one more time. I might have one. I do have the fittings. I could make a 90 out of it. Maybe I'll do that. I think I got fittings. All right. Yeah, I do got the fittings. All right. Let me. You guys can watch me do a little bit of pipe work. Okay. There we go. My tape, Teflon tape. Wrench. Okay. Do I want to do this? If I don't, it's going to be like this. And that's not very pretty. In fact, I'll show you. Like this, and this fuel line's going to be hanging out no man's land. No, I'm going to 90 it over. I'm going to try to do this right. Okay. So all I got to do, you got to take that threaded nipple off. The threaded barb fitting. It's not a nipple. Threaded barb fitting. I need another wrench though to hold the adapter. Okay. So we take this part. We're going to hold the adapter here. This is a 3/8 to 1/4 inch thread adapter. It's a double female. Oops. Not usually a fan of using crescent wrenches, but they're quick. Okay, got that on. Gonna break this loose on this side here. That's fine. And it should just come right off. I can get my wrench on there. Crescent wrenches are not that precision, and you can beat up your whatever you're trying to wrench on pretty easily if you're not careful. So I tend not to use them. I prefer a box wrench or something else, but they are quick. Oh, man. As I'm saying that, super slow. Okay, here we go. Take that off. You can see I got quite a bit of Teflon tape on here. I'm going to go ahead and find the tail. Try to unwrap it. Try not to have it fight me too much. You guys see this? You guys see this? Okay. Should come off pretty easily. It is relatively new. Sometimes when you got an old, I'll have to cut into it. Sometimes when you got old Teflon tape on it, kind of turns into mush, but this is relatively new, so it should come off pretty easy, I hope. Okay, there we go, just like that. Fresh thread. Cool. If you can, try to get all the little pieces out, because that can screw up your threads as far as sealing properly. Not so much the thread itself. Okay. Now, I'm going to, what I got here, I've got a coupling. This is a coupling with a hex on it, so I can hold it. And this is a 1/4 inch MPT. So I'm going to stick this into the adapter that we just took out, and I'm going to put on a 90, like so. Double female 90, and then I'll put the barb fitting back into the other side of the, and I'll have a nice 90. Okay, so let's tape these up real quick. Now, Teflon tape, I don't think is the right thing you're supposed to use for this fuel setup, or maybe these fittings, because I'm having like I said, they seem to seep through. Now, it could just be a matter of me not putting enough tape on, or not doing it right, or not tightening enough. Very, very possible. I think in the future, I'd probably lean towards doing what I typically do on stainless pipe, where you run the Teflon tape and then you put pipe dope over the tape. And a lot of industrial plants require that now when you're doing stainless. Stainless pipe, threaded pipe, is so hard to prevent from leaking. Much, much, much harder than mild steel or plastic pipe. I don't know why that is, but maybe when it gets cut, the threads aren't as tight, or maybe they're too tight. I'm sorry, maybe the threads are so sharp that it cuts into whatever you're sealing it off with. I don't know, but if you're doing stainless pipe, always do pipe tape or Teflon tape and then pipe dope on top of the tape. But we're not doing stainless pipe. We're just going to do this brass or whatever these are. Okay, there isn't right or wrong way for putting on Teflon tape. This is the same side. It's not different sides. Can you see this? Yeah. There's not different sides with Teflon tape, but the way the tail ends is very important, because you can put it on the wrong way, and then when you're tightening up the thread, the tail will come undone. So you want to make sure you put the Teflon tape on the right way. And the trick is, you want the tape, or the beginning of the tape, to be pointing towards your direction of rotation. And so the end of the tape, or the tail, when you're done, is going the opposite way that you're rotating it. So we'll start this off. We'll go around. Let's see if you guys can see this. Yep. Should go this way though. Yep. Start off. For these, I've been doing 2 wraps, which maybe isn't enough. So I'm going to go 3 on this one. So 1. And what I mean by wraps, I'm just completing the full wrap. 1. And you want to keep it taut. You want to be able to see all your threads. You want to avoid wrinkling the tape, because again, that's a good spot for it to leak. And you want to make sure your tail or your starting point is flat or flush up against the thread, because you don't want a big bump there. So that's 1. Again, keeping it taut. That's 2. And let's do 3. Oh, man, it looks thick, but maybe it'll work. Okay, there's 3. Okay. You break the tape. You can see it leaves a little tail there. Tail there. You want to push that down and make sure you don't have any wrinkles or anything. You almost can't even tell where it starts. And then after you push that tail down, what I always do is you want to grab it with your fingers and twist that fitting in your fingers to make sure it's all nice and tight on there. So it looks real good. Okay. So that was one end. I'm going to do the other end now. Do this a little bit quicker now. Now you guys know how to do it. Eventually, you kind of find your hand set up on how you do tape. Your hands, you almost have muscle memory, so you can do it pretty quickly. When you're first doing this, it takes a while just to get used to the techniques and what your hands are doing. But after a while, it does go pretty quick. Okay, there's the coupling. This isn't the coupling. This is a... Oh, man. It's not a nipple. No, it might be a nipple. Pipe nipple. I don't know. I forget what the name of it is. Pipe nipple with a hex on it, maybe. Okay. There was that. Let's do the barb fitting again. Again, we're starting off with the starting point going towards the direction of rotation, which is clockwise. That's 1 wrap. Ooh. I almost made a mistake. See how it's doubled up there? You want to push that down, or as flat as you can. It's prone for leaks. Okay. 1, 2, 2, and 3. Okay. Push it down, rotate. Get it good. Okay. Okay, ready to go. I think I can put it all on and just rotate all while it's on. Sometimes you have to put all your pieces together first before you put it on, because it's so tight you won't be able to rotate while it's on the machine or whatever you're doing. In this case, I got a clear shot, I believe. In fact, let me just do a little tester run just in case. Yep, I'm good all the way around. Man, I wish I had a better shot. I'm so bad at this camera stuff, guys. I'm so sorry. Well, you're just gonna have to deal for now. Okay, so let's go ahead and you know what? I think I'm gonna tighten this barb up because I'm gonna have a little bit harder time on the machine, I believe. So let's do this real quick. We'll get her past hand tight so I don't have to fight the looseness. These fittings are nice because they are hex shaped. These flat surfaces are for gripping with your tool. Some of the lower pressure fittings don't have that, and they're harder to grab onto, or if you have to use some sort of pipe wrench or something that'll grab it with a grip or with teeth, and it beats up the fitting, and it usually doesn't work as well. But these are nice hex. Okay, so I'm just going to crank this down. And these are pretty forgiving threads or pipe pieces, so I can go pretty torquey on it. And what you're looking for is a certain depth of engagement of the thread itself into the whatever you're doing. I got a lot of tape on here, but it seems to be working out okay so far. Like I said, you can really crank these down without having to worry about them. So it's one. Whoops. So it's in probably about halfway, which is good enough. And let's go ahead and stick this in. I do enjoy doing these double threads, or tightening these double threads, because you get a 2-in-1. I'll show you here what I mean. So I'm rotating this outside piece, and you can see that both ends, this threaded end and this threaded end, they're tightening at different speeds. And so what will happen eventually, one side will stop spinning and the other side will finish up. And it's a nice automatic thread tightening for both sides, which is cool. Okay, so it's a little bit almost there. Okay, got it with my hand. Let me get a tool on there, tighten it up. Like I said, I'm probably halfway. In fact, I'm a little bit more than halfway on one side, so I know that's far enough. On this other side, I'm about halfway, or maybe halfway. So I know I'm good there. I'm just going to end up tightening this up real quick. The tool, get the wrench on there. I'm going to get a smaller crescent wrench. I'm in trouble how tight it is. Okay, here we go. Adjust it out. Here we go. And you can watch the thread. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, you gotta see it. Whoops. Be careful of that. I'm threading something else. Okay, so I'm gonna hold this here. And man, that's tight. Now, it's in a position that I want, or pretty close. I can risk trying to do another full rotation. There's a possibility that I won't be able to get it, and I'd have to back it off, which would be silly because then it might leak. I'm not sure if I'm going to risk it right now. It feels pretty tight. I'm not so concerned about it leaking right now. Yeah, what the heck? Let's do it. Let's go for it. Let's see if we can make this happen. Oh man, that's tight. Maybe I should just leave it. Let me just try real quick. It's tough to tell because there's so much tape on there. You know, I think I'm gonna leave it. I'm gonna leave it. I'm gonna leave it. Okay. So, got this. What's going on here? Not moving. Okay. Where's that rotating? Oh. Okay. So, there's the pump. It's pretty clear. I'm going to run it on the underside of this. I'm going to run it underneath this tube here because the exhaust is just a couple inches on the top of it, and I want to keep it away from the exhaust. So I'm going to run it on the underside. So let me get a proper length here. And give it a good cut. Here we go. So that feels good. This doesn't have to be perfect length. Again, we're not going to the moon or anything. Not yet. Something like this. When you're measuring, so this is a straight run coming all the way across, back from where it's coming from. It's a straight run all the way back, so that's easy to measure. But now that I'm going to make a 90 here, you want to make sure, especially I'm kind of floating off in the twilight zone, you want to make sure that you're not kidding yourself by pulling it tight, and this is going to be too tight to be able to tie back. So what you want to do, let me get this properly ran. One second, I got some wires in the way. Okay. What you want to do, get your point A, if you will, about where you want it, or worst case scenario. So I'm saying up here, tucked in, right up against this bar. I'm going to hold it there with my other hand, and then I'm going to run the other line, the other end of the line to where I'm going to make sure that my length is right, and I'm not going to cut it too short. So I got a little bit I can play. And, you know, it looks pretty good. Again, if you leave yourself a little extra room, you can always cut it again. If it's too long, I'm going to go here. It feels good. So I got my spot. Just going to cut it real quick. Woo! Careful, guys. When you're using your thumb as a backer like that, sharp knives can slip right through that if you're trying to cut and nick you. Nobody likes to get cut, at least. At least not normally, I should say. Okay. Or whatever normal is. Okay. There we go. Man, look at that. Even the natural bend of this, hose is going to work perfect. I was talking about it earlier. If you want to use that natural bend of the hose to your advantage, because a lot of times if you go against it, this natural bend of the hose, you'll end up kinking the hose. But in this case, it's perfect. It's going to swoop right down into the pump discharge. So here we go. Oh, I got to get a hose clamp on. Whatever I did with that. Okay. Put the hose clamp on. Stick it on the barb. And you're good. Okay, I'm going to tighten it down. Now, if these fittings start to leak, I can pretty easily undo the hose setup and put a couple more turns in these fittings, and should be good. I'm not too worried about it. I know they're tight in there, just how tight. Okay. Man, that's exciting. That was a lot of work. Just a little hose run. Man, this is cool blue hose. All right. Let's keep going. The next part's going to be more challenging. So let's jump right into it. Thanks again for watching, guys. Whoa. Thanks. Oh wait, let me set this up. Oh man, does that work? Thanks again for watching, guys. It's been a lot of fun working on the buggy and having an audience. And I thought I've only done this. This is my second stream, if you can't tell. And I thought it was going to feel like work. A lot of my work. I work at Monroe Environmental. Is that a plug? I don't know if that's a plug. Monroe Environmental. Check it out in Monroe, Michigan. I worked there. I've been there for 14 years. I do a lot of presentations at work, and although I really enjoy it, public speaking, doing presentations, it's exhausting. It takes a lot of work out of you because you're putting on a sales face, if you will, or a very specific attitude and demeanor that you want to take care of the customer and put on almost a show, if you will. And I thought I was going to have the same feeling doing this, but it's different. It feels like I got a friend sitting next to me. Even though I'm by myself and live by myself and everything, it feels like I got somebody with me, so it's cool. It feels like we're doing this together, and I'm sure it'll turn into that even more when we got an active audience trying to help out. I've had people unsolicited send me helping messages or helpful messages on YouTube and whatnot, saying, "Hey, that looks like that is a such and such part," and I had no idea. And again, if we can do this together. Teamwork. It's been fun. I'm going to put my hair back in a ponytail. Man, like I said, long hair is really sweet for about everything. Working on stuff, it's terrible. It just gets all gummed up and mucked up, and nobody likes that. Okay, here we go. Nice and tight. Need to get a fancy hat. I'm going to put that on the list. Okay. Woo! Drink some water. Oh, I forgot to say, it's motivational. Having an audience has been very motivational, even though nobody's watching right now. I don't think anybody's watching. I'm streaming on YouTube and Twitch right now. I don't think a single person is watching. It still feels good, though, to have an audience or whatever, and it's very motivational. It feels good. It feels really good. I don't know if I'd be pushing myself as hard if I wasn't recording this or trying to make something out of it. So it's been fun. It's a lot of fun. Enough chit chat. Let's do this. Let's party. Okay, we're gonna go back to the back of the buggy, and I don't know if you guys can see in there. I gotta dig. You know what? I'm gonna take the carburetors off. I need to change the jets. Anyways, in the carb, I need to change the jets, the main jet and the needle position, needle clip position. So I'm going to take the carbs off, and that'll make everything a lot easier. Otherwise, I'm going to be threading needles the whole time. So let's take these 3 carbs off. They come off pretty quickly. Whoa. So I'm going to try to do it from here. That's okay with you. No, you can't even see them. Whoa. How's this? How's this? How's this? It all sucks. Oh, man. How's this? That sucks too. That's not bad. I can work with this. Okay. At an angle. Yeah, okay. Sorry, guys. Okay, so we just got to undo the pipe clamps, or hose clamps, hold these carbs in place. I think the line should be long enough to pull the whole thing out on one piece, I think anyways. Without taking it apart, whatever I do with my screwdriver. A flathead. Yo, flathead, where art thou? I had a flathead at some point in my life, sitting around here. Oh, found it. I've had a lot of trouble keeping track of tools on this project. Working on four-wheelers and dirt bikes, there's not really a spot to put your tools, per se, while you're not using them. But on this thing, there's a lot of flat surfaces and nooks and crannies you can set your tools on. And I seem to lose a lot of things doing that. Probably a bad habit. Okay, so here's the pipe clamp. Whoop. Here's the pipe clamp here. It's going to undo it. This is the stator side. Oops, a little looser. Ooh, okay. There she wrote. There she goes. Let me get these plug wires out of the way. These guys don't need to be here. I know you guys. I'll show you later. We're going to get into electric here, probably tomorrow. I got my coils inside this toolbox in the back. Super slick. Man, get all the electrical out of the dirty zone. Okay. Oh, my choke cable. I'm going to undo my choke cable to do this properly, I believe. So I'm going to undo this mount from the chassis. If I can. Here we go. Push it through. Okay. Put this adjuster nut back on so I don't lose it. This chassis nut. Here we go. Okay. Woo! It's tight. Man, it's full of fuel too, I think. That's one thing we're going to fix today, hopefully. All right, I'm just going to... What am I going to do? I think I'm going to take this cat... no, I really didn't want to dig into the carbs right now. I want to do these lines, but it seems like I don't have to do them both at the same time. Maybe? I don't know. I almost have enough room. No, these are going to have to come out almost completely. Man, that's okay. What's holding me back right now? The line that I'm going to replace. I'm cutting that bad boy. Get out of here. I'm just going to cut you. Just going to cut you. Okay. This is one of the header lines that comes off the splitter after the main line. I'm just going to cut it. This is the line I'm replacing anyways. So we're just going to cut it. It's holding me back. It's in my way. Gots to go. Gots to go. Okay. That helped immensely. What's next? Take it all the way out. I gotta be careful. If I turn this carburetor upside down, it's gonna dump a bunch of gas everywhere. I'm not trying to do that yet. I do need to do that eventually because I have to get in this floatable, but I don't want to do it right now. Okay, that was one carb. Seems to be resting quite nicely up here, keeping it in place. So we're gonna leave it right there. Let's go on to the next one. Okay, just got to undo the hose clamp, holding it on. Now normally, maybe I'll do it right now. Anytime you take your carburetor off your machine, you should really plug the hole. You don't want to drop dirt or debris or sand or something down inside your intake, or in this case where the reeds are, the reed valves. You can beat a motor up pretty quickly doing that. So let's hold. It's holding me back here. Oh, it's the same line. Bruh, you got to go. You got to go. Okay, we're going to cut you. Hey! You're done, son. You're done. You're done, son. Okay? Get out of here. Boom, boom, boom. Man, is this going to work? I think so. If I can rotate this carb the right way and not dump all this. What am I doing here? Wait a minute. It's trying to go the wrong way. Okay, I'm trying to be really careful not to dump this because I'll just make a mess. Quick flip over. Worked. It worked. There we go. Perfect. Okay. Whoa. Okay, perfect. It's number 2. Let's get the third one in there. And then we'll plug these holes while I'm working on this thing. So I'm over here on the PTO side. So go ahead and undo this clamp. Pull it out. Oh, gotta cut this line again. It's goofed up. I should have cut it before I pulled it. I think I learned my lesson by the third one, but I have not. It's okay. Just gonna cut this bad boy somewhere. Oh, I already had this one pulled off. Okay. You know, I could have done that with the other ones. I had the line pulled off earlier because I was trying to check the right hose size. Hose sizing is so confusing. You can get 3 different 1/4-inch ID hoses and they're all different sizes. Oh, it's very infuriating. Okay, that gave me a ton of access. I'm gonna go ahead and plug these holes real quick with some fresh paper towels so nothing drops in them. Intake holes. One. Best tool. Get that out of your way. Oh, you guys can't see anything. Okay. And so I got 2 holes plugged, and now I got 3. Oops. I'm sorry, guys. I know, it's so horrendous. It's like a joke. Like, who's this guy? What's he doing? Definitely not, I've used the camera before, that's for sure. Okay. Okay, number 3, plugged. Here we go. Be right back, guys. Be right back. I put my water bottle. Okay, we're back. Dominate these carb lines. Okay, let's do this. I take the old ones off, obviously. Whatever. Man, I got the knife. That flathead sure likes to grow legs. Got it. Okay. I got 3 little hose clamps I gotta take off. Tucked way down in there. You can kind of see the first one off of the stator side. Man, I'm gonna get a socket wrench for this one. Those are in there. Make this happen. Okay, there we go. You really can't see what I'm doing, can you hear? Let me give you a better shot. What's this? You guys like that, don't you? Oh, yeah, you do. Okay, there's the 3. No, that's a 4-way. Got a splitter for the fuel line. Okay, I'm gonna. Oh man, these are the fancy hose clamps, and they use a 30 seconds, I believe. Socket for the adjuster. I think, yeah, it's not quarter, 30 seconds. And I had one somewhere, I think. Let me grab it again. I'll put it back. Let's see. I can't be right. 5:30. No, not 5:30. I'm sorry, guys. I went the wrong way. 9:30 seconds. 9:30 seconds. Let's see if this is the right size. Yeah. Yeah. 9:30 seconds. In fact, I'm going to see if I got a deep well socket of this size. Or maybe an extension. That'll make these easier. I don't think I got a deep well of it. Oh. Oh, I do. Sweet. Okay. You can't beat having the right tools, folks. You can't beat it. Here we go. I'm very fortunate to have all these tools. It's taken me basically my whole life to collect them all. But it pays off, that's for sure. Okay, there's 1. There's 2, I think. Yep. There's 3. I don't know if these hoses are going to come off. They're so brittle or so hard right now. They may not want to move off these barbs. We'll see. Yeah, there's no way I'm pulling those off. Okay, I'm gonna get my knife. Let's get our knife. Man, what is going on today? Putting stuff everywhere in goofy places. Maybe I'm tired. What can I do with that knife? Oh, got the knife. Okay. Here we go. Again, try not to score. Oh, you can't see the one I'm on. You don't want to score these barbs too much. Potential for leaking. Low potential, but it's there. Okay, that's one. It's going right in the trash. Let's do this one. You guys will be able to see this one. No, not the way the camera is. Okay, should cut it. Come right off, and let's do 3. Boom, boom, boom. This third one still has a fuel filter on it, so I'm going to keep it off the floor. Don't step on and break it. They're still good. They're brand new. Like I said, I burned this motor up maybe 20 minutes of ride time or something, and those filters are still good. Okay. There's the 3-way there. It's kind of... Oh, it's on there good. Whoops. There's the 3-way there that we're going to be running our new lines off of. And it comes in the bottom off the main header. And you can see the pressure gauge there that's hooked onto. So that's where the main fuel line splits off to each individual carb. So let's go ahead and get our handy dandy 1/4 inch new fuel line. This sweet yellow stuff. Check this out. You guys like this? Yeah, you do. Cool. It's translucent. Once that red fuel is in there, it should be a lot easier to see the see-throughness of it. I hope this is the right size for these barb fittings. I have not checked this. I'm a little nervous. And I think that's going to work. Yeah, I think so. Yep. Cool. Yep. That worked out good. Okay. I think what I'm going to do, not sure what I'm going to do actually. I might have to be a little wasteful doing this with how tucked away this is. When I originally did those lines, I didn't have the radiator mounted, and so I could get perfect access to it from the back. But now that I got the radiator in the way, it's really tight in here. It's almost hard to even see what I'm doing. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to run the line long, and then 3 separate lines. I'm going to run them a little long, and then when I get the carburetors back in place, I'll permanently mount it. I'll trim them up and then permanently mount it. It'll be a little wasteful, but I bought extra just in case, so we'll be okay. So let's do this. Let's party. I'm going to do the stator side first. I'm going to find my hose clamp I just took off. Plop her on. That's a perfect fit. Sweet. Okay. Just going to slide. Ooh, I'm going to loosen up this pipe clamp a little bit before it goes on. Hose clamp. Okay, there she is. Like I said, I'm going to run these lines a little long, so I'm going to just guesstimate what I think at most is what I'm going to need. It is a little wasteful, and I kind of don't want to do it, but you got to do what you got to do. I know. Around town, like so, come down in. Oh no, I'm only going to the filter. I got a filter. I got the inline filter that I only need to run to right now. I'm not going all the way to the port on the carb. So, go up. I'm going to call it. You know, I'm going to leave myself a little extra slack too this time. The first time I did it, it was pretty tight, because I was trying to make it look sweet, but it ended up being tough because everything, I couldn't move the carbs around because everything was so tight. So I'm going to try to be able to extra slack this time. Okay, that's the first one. Just let it hang loose there for a minute. Let's go to number 2. Go to the middle cylinder. Put the hose clamp on. Plopper do on. Man, that fits nice. I bought this hose today. I thought it was going to be a little big. It was bigger than the one. I had brought in a 1/4 inch fuel line that I knew was 1/4 inch. And I went to a couple places and I wasn't finding what I needed. And so I finally found this yellow line. And the idea of the inner diameter was a little bigger than what I had for an example piece. I was a little nervous it was going to be too big, but now that I'm messing around with it, it's perfect size. Loosen this clamp up so I can get it down across the barbs. I'll come back and tighten these up once I get all 3 on. Okay, so guesstimate the length on this bad boy. Yeah, I'm going to leave it kind of long. Although wasteful, it's going to give me make everything a lot easier when I go to do the final cuts. Okay. Was that a little short? No, it's good. Okay. Let's do trace. We're going to the PTO side, power takeoff. Put the hose clamp on. And stick her right on. When I initially got everything, or when I initially was trying to put everything together, I was calling a lot of different places, almost different genres of machines. I'd call a dune buggy place or a Sandrail place, and I'd be like, hey, I'm trying to put this snowmobile motor in this chassis, and I need to connect, this throttle cable or this part there, this part that. He'd laugh right in my face. They'd say, good luck. Man, it happened to me about 5, specifically on the throttle cable. I was trying to connect the T off the throttle cable end to a normal push-pull throttle cable, like a Morse code. Or, I'm sorry, Morse cable? Morse? More? Forget the brand name. More? Must be More. Can't be Morse code. More? It doesn't matter. I was trying to connect the throttle cable T to the push-pull cable, throttle cable. And, of course, I had to call about 5 different places, and they all laughed at me. So now I got to make something. And I ended up finding a little turnbuckle thing. Not turnbuckle, but I forget the name of it. I ended up finding this oddball thing that fit it together perfectly. That was set up it was intended for a dune buggy part. So it made it work, but I've had to do that quite a few times. Call around, get laughed at before figuring it out. And some of the guys in these industries are not very forgiving. They lay it on thick. That's okay. It's all in good fun. Here we go. Loosen up the spike clamp. Swirl it on. Okay. I feel good about, oh, I gotta cut this. Okay, I'm going to guesstimate this third line now. Wrap around the carb and trying to be too wasteful, if you will. Okay, here we go. Okay, we got the first part of the line ran. Pretty happy with it. I'm going to tighten up these hose clamps while I got access to everything. Otherwise, I don't know if I'd even be able to get in there with the carbs back in place. So let's tighten these up. I'm going to line the hose clamp up. These barbs are kind of short because the line size is small. This is an 1/8 inch barb. And the barb on it's not very long. It's maybe only 3/4 of an inch or so. So you got to be careful. You don't want to be too close to the end of the hose, and you don't want to be too far on the barb fitting to where it might slip off or start a leak. So we'll have to go about right there. I have the fancy clamps on these just because of where they're at. I don't want to deal with anything. I want to do it once and be good with it. I wish I had these. I wish I had enough fancy clamps to do the whole line like this, but I don't have enough. Maybe one day I'll go back and replace all these hose clamps with nice ones. But for now, we'll do half and half or whatever it is. Man, there we go. Check it. Get my view. Looks pretty good. Okay, I'm gonna lock it down. And these nice clamps. That's what she wrote. Okay, I'm gonna go on the next one. We're gonna go to the middle cylinder hose clamp. I'm gonna get it in place. It feels pretty good there. You can feel it's not too far up close to the end. I can see that the end of the barb is sticking out inside the hose. Another benefit of using a translucent hose like this, you can see what's going on the inside. Okay, lock this hose down. It's not tight enough. This is what I was talking about earlier. When you're using socket wrenches on hose clamps, there's not enough resistance when you're going the opposite way to let it click like it's supposed to. So you got to hold it with your hand. A lot of times you can't do that. There we go. Nice. I know this. You can see the header moving. I have it rubber mounted. The way it's mounted to the chassis, this fuel header, it was kind of goofed up. Not goofed up, but kind of everything is so tight down there that I had to do some funny business to even make it all work and to keep it off the frame from vibrating, keep my gauge safe. I had to rubber mount this thing, which is probably okay, but it does move a little bit. That's okay. This shouldn't cause any issues. Okay, feel good about that. Let's go on the third one. I can see the. See if I can show you. Brighten up down here. Like if you can get close enough. Wait a minute. Okay, so there's the one I'm going to tighten up now. Wait a minute. Okay, see how the nipple, or I'm sorry, the barb is coming through past the pipe clamp, and you can see there's still end of the hose here. You want that about in the middle on these anyways. On longer ones, you probably want to have more of the barb. Whoops. What the heck am I? Here, I'm over here. Man, this camera biz. Jeez, I'm sorry, guys. Okay. On longer fittings, longer barbs, you'd want the clamp closer to the end of the hose end. You'd still want about 1/8 inch at a minimum distance between the before the end of the hose. On this, the barb is so short, it's going to go in the middle, and that's about where the best spot's going to be for where it's at right now. In fact, I'm gonna. Yeah, that's good. I'll just lock it down. Good enough. It looks worse on camera. Or am I just saying that? Doesn't matter. Oh man. Here we go. Back this camera out of the way so I can turn it. Socket wrench isn't quite ready to start clicking back. Maybe one more turn. There we go. Okay. Lock her down. Now these clamps, since they're nice, you almost get to turn them until they stop turning. I mean, not full force, but pretty much the indicator that they are done. You can definitely overdo these and break these clamps still, but the nice ones are a lot more forgiving for tightness. Okay, feel good about that. Line you back up here. All right, so now that we got all three of those tightened on the splitter down there, let's segue into this other project with these carbs, because I won't be able to do what I want to do on these carbs while they're back in place. So these carbs, they're Mikuni carbs. They're really good carbs. Let me see if I can. I'm so sorry, guys. I know this is hard to even watch. Okay. Let's see if I can do this right here. Okay. These. No. 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 That's so tight. I'm going to take the cap off. Ugh. It's tight. Man. Here we go. Take the slide out. And we'll get back to that in just a minute. Whoa. Okay. These are Mikuni carbs. These are round slide carbs. I forget the size. Couldn't even tell you. They don't even say on them. I don't know. But they're Mikuni. They're nice carbs. Anyways, here's the issue. The flow, or to change the main jet, which is directly past this nut here. If I was to take this this bolt out, you could see the main jet. And the problem is, which you can kind of see, this whole float bowl is filled with fuel right now. And if I was to take that nut out, or that bolt, it would come draining out and make a mess. Now they have this drain port here, but it's been plugged with just a short fuel hose and something in the end. What I'm going to do, or at least attempt to do, I'm going to run all three of these float drains to a single valve so I can drain all three carbs at the same time to a single location manually without having to take this whole stupid thing apart. And that'll make changing the jets a lot easier. It's going to take some extra time and effort to do it right, or to do what I'm trying to do. But man, when I go to change jets again, which I will absolutely have to do, it'll make things a lot easier. So what I'm going to do is I need to drain this carb into something. And there's a lot of fuel. This whole thing is filled up. Probably, a third of a cup, half a cup or something. I don't know. There's a lot in there. And it's heavy. I can feel it. So let me get something to dump this in. Let me back this camera up. Okay. How's that? I don't know. Who knows? Okay. Let's see, what was I doing? Oh, I gotta drain that. Drain that carb. Again, that fuel is probably good in there, but I'm going to drain it into a waste bin anyways and deal with it later. Put this here. Awful. I'm going to get a fresh. I got this jug here that I've been collecting stuff in, and then I was going to put it in my real container. I'm a little afraid I might drop this and spill this all over the place, and that would be horrendous. So we're going to skip that reindeer game and go right to a fresh container. Okay, that one. This will work. clear bucket. Got this bucket years ago from, I think it came with a bottle of Patron or something. I've been keeping it as a nice drain bucket. I don't use it very often, but it's a nice clear bucket. See what you're doing? Okay. Now I'm kind of doing this stuff precariously because I have all these hoses and choke line and nonsense attached to these carbs. I'm going to try to do this without hurting anything. I don't think I can take that drain hose off without hurting, or not hurting, but without making a complete mess. So I'm just going to take the that bottom bolt out of the float. I think it's 11/16. I think. So we're going to go for that first. I didn't even look at it. I think I remember being 11/16 last time I took it apart. See how good my memory is. Yep, that's the size. Or at least, I mean, this is a metric thread, or metric bolt. Obviously, it's not 11/16. Oh, let me find the real size then. Maybe a 17. Might be a 17. Let's see here. Yeah, it's a little loose still. Let me grab a 16 and see if it's any better. The 17 would work. It's not a real tight bolt. The tighter the bolt, the better your socket's got to fit. If you're just doing something loosey-goosey, you can use something that just fits on there and you don't have to worry about it. But man, if you have something real serious that you want to put a lot of torque to, you want to make sure that your socket fits nice and tight. And they make, let me show you something else. No, that's 16.4. One sec, let me grab a bigger socket. I'll show you something here. Okay, a lot of guys will have either or a socket, a 6-point, no, I'm sorry, a 6-point or a 12-point socket. The difference being the 12-point makes more contact area, or a higher contact area on whatever you're turning, and so it can transmit more torque without damaging the nut or bolt or whatever you're trying to do. Obviously, most of the time, the 6-point works great, and there's no issues, but occasionally you should use a 12-point to make sure you're not damaging the fastener or whatever you're trying to unterm. And that's what the difference is. And a lot of sets come with both, so you don't have to worry about it, but that's the difference. In this case, I already got the 12-point out, and I'm going to use that. Okay. This is going to be a fun little trip because it's going to make a mess everywhere, all over my hands and everything. I'm sure. Let's try to do this without being too goofy. Whoop. You know what? I'm going to... I do have to take these floats off regardless because I'm going to change the jet size. I'm going to make sure that I have the hose fittings to even do what I'm talking about. I think I do. I think I bought them today. Let me check that. I wish I had a 4-way. I think I do, but I don't have the barb fittings for it, I don't think. Yeah, I got a 4-way, the right size. Oh man, are these the right? Let me see if I got the right size there. These are the right size or not? These barb things are too big for what I'm trying to do. Get some of this hose. Let me get that. Oh man, that's really tight. No, I don't think I can do that. It's too big. Oh, but I got the blue stuff. That might work. That's the right size. Okay, all right. Making better animals here. Let's see if I get everything. Come off. I got my sweet 4-way here. These this is a 4-way with an 1/8 inch female NPT threads, and I'm gonna have. Yeah, I didn't mean to buy those things today. So I got my 4-way, and then I got. Let me grab the rest of them. I'll show you what I'm gonna do. Oh man, I might even have an adapter to do a 4th pot instead of doing a hose fitting. Heck yeah, I do. Okay, do it. I do. Sweet. Man, that's cool. Alright. Another. Oh, listen. So another cup. Oh, I got one. Huh. How? What you know about that? You got a better one? Man, just for this project alone, a lot of these barb fittings, when you buy them, say out of McMaster or something, they come in quantities in 5 and 10. You can't buy individual ones, which is okay because they're not that expensive. And I have a whole box of them, thinking they were all wasted. Now I am dipping back into my extra ones, or what I thought was extra, and they seem to be coming into play here. So it's all working out. Let me show you what I'm going to do here, right quick. This is cool. I'm glad I got all these fittings. I'm not going to have to do it. See, okay. 1, 2, 3. These threads, 1/8 inch threads are tight. This thread is messed up. Let me grab a different one. All right, clean this thread up, but I got another one I can throw on. Oh my gosh, this is going to be sweet. We just finished putting it together. I'll show you what I'm going to do. A couple crescent wrenches. You guys see me? Watch me work all that. wish I had another female adapter. Oh, I do got one. Oh my gosh, guys, it's working out perfect. Working out perfect. Let's see here. He's got this stupid thread locker on him. That's okay. Oh wait, that doesn't help. What are you doing? Oh yeah, that's true. Man, that's sweet. I didn't think I was gonna have all this. What do you know about that? Check that out. Okay, look at this, guys. Here's what I'm gonna do. I have the off the bottom of the float bowls. There's a drain line that's plugged currently. I'm gonna run all three of those lines to this four-way. 1, 2, 3, and then I'm gonna have it run through to this valve, and then I'll have a purge at the bottom. So anytime I want to change the jets, I'll be able to purge the floats without having to spill it everywhere and get all over the place. Man, this will make things so much easier. And I'll run a flex hose off this down to the ground, not to the ground, but hanging a little bit, and I'll zip tie it all together, make it look good. Man, this is gonna make my life so much easier. So this is sweet. I got all the fittings here. I didn't think I was going to. That's what's up. That's what's up. Okay, let's do this. I think I'm gonna. I don't know if I need to pick a spot where this is going to go first, or if I should just wing it. We should just wing it here. Wing. Here. Since I'm running flex hose, I can kind of do whatever I want. I think I see a spot to zip tie this in. I could hard mount it later when I'm ready, or able and willing, if you will. Oh, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Okay, I'm going to pipe these all together real quick. Woo! Need a chair to sit on. My tools all over the place. These tools. This spot sucks too. Okay. Okay, if you guys didn't get enough Teflon tape world, we're about to dive back in. Ugh. I'll fix it here in a sec. Okay. Okay, here we go. Sorry, guys. I need a cameraman. I don't need one. I like a cameraman. It'd be sweet one day. Okay. So we're going to tape these all together. This sweet piece. Add all the fittings. And let's do this. In fact, I'm going to shoot this down a little bit so you can see my handiwork. I know you want to look at my beautiful face, but we're going to do this instead. Okay. You see? Yeah, you can see what I'm doing. Okay. So let's start off with, I'm going to start off with this tee, or this thing here. Okay. So let's start off with this. We're going to tape these all up real quick. Now this is an 1/8 inch thread, 1/8 inch NPT. They're pretty fine. I think I'm just going to do 2 wraps on these with the tape. Try not to get it too thick. It's pretty easy, especially on these smaller fittings, to put too much tape on, and then you can't tighten them all the way. So we'll do 2 wraps. Okay, we got our tape. I'm going to straighten out the end, get the wrinkles out before I put it on. Whoop. Okay. Start off, you want your starting point to go to point towards your rotation direction, which is clockwise. Keep it taut going around. That's 1. And 2. Break it off clean. Fix your tail. Now you can see, keeping it taut when you're putting the Teflon tape on these smaller, especially these 1/8 inch MPTs, the tape, the width of a normal Teflon tape reel is going to cover up your hex part where you put your wrench. And that's okay. What I normally do is leave it there until I'm ready to tighten. And once I'm ready to tighten, or once I hand thread it in, ready to tighten, I'll push it off so it doesn't mess me up. And then it'll bunch up a little bit at the end here of the thread, but that's okay because the thread doesn't engage that far. So let's go ahead and screw that first one in. Let's get it hand tight. Okay, let's go on to the next one. Man, it's a nice day out today. It's hot. I was saying earlier, I think I started around 2 o'clock or so, which is 4 or 5 hours ago, and it was 93 and humid. Still feels like it's doing that. In fact, last night was the first night I turned my AC on. I was having a hard time sleeping because I was just sweating in bed. So I turned on last night, and man, what a relief having AC is. Okay, there's 2. Let's do 3. This one wrapped nice. I didn't have the extra tape, the extra width of the tape fall over to the hex of the fitting on this one. That was nice. Okay. Okay, that's 3. I'll assemble this all hand tight, and then I'll go back and tighten it all up. Let's get this nipple out. This is called the nipple. I know it's a funny name. This is called the nipple. And there's different types of nipples. Sometimes they're fully threaded. In this case, there's a space in between each thread so you can put a tool on there. Well, not just so you can put a tool on there. With pipe thread, it's tapered. And so you can only thread in so far before you either break the fitting or can't go any further. So really, these threads only need to be so far because they won't engage all the way anyways. But this is a nipple. The opposite of this is a coupling, which would be 2 female ends on a piece like this. This is 2 male ends. So let's tape up both these males. Again, start it. Your starting point goes towards your point of rotation. In this case, it's clockwise, which most of the time it is. I've had a few reverse thread pipes on instruments and some other funny stuff, but it's pretty rare. Man, I got a nasty burr on this brand new fitting. I don't know if that's going to mess me up. Shut engages. It feels okay. It doesn't seem like that burr's in the way, so we're just going to leave it. Okay, this male to female adapter I got here. This is male 1/8 inch MBT to female 1/4 inch. It came, which I do not appreciate, this thread lock on here. This is red thread lock, the red pipe dope, whatever. I hate this stuff. It's a pain in the neck to clean off. And when after you engage it into something and take it out, then you got to clean the female end out, and it's a pain in the neck. I really don't enjoy it. I couldn't buy it when I ordered these. I couldn't buy it any other way, or at least the place I was ordering it from. They only came with this thread lock on here. I'm going to cover it with Teflon tape anyways and hope for the best, as opposed to cleaning it off right now. I don't have a pipe a pipe guy to clean off the thread properly. So I'd have to clean it out with a little knife or something. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to cover it up. I'm going to hope for the best. Again, this line is on a drain line, which I obviously won't be using all the time. It's not a critical line, so even if it leaks a little bit, it'll only be when I'm draining the system anyway, so it won't be any big deal. So, start with the starting point towards point of rotation. That's 1. And I'm still going to do 2 wraps, even though I got that thread lock around there, that pipe dope, whatever it is. Yeah, I messed that up. Let me start over. I'm still going to do 2 full turns of tape. Even though there's already pipe dope on here, it'll be all right. Yeah, this is not a fun one to do. One, 2. Okay. Oh, shoot. You want to be careful when you're starting and stopping your tape that you got nice clean breaks, you don't have any tail sticking out, anything that's bunched up. It'll screw you up. Surely will. Okay, that's done. Let's just do the other end of this nipple here. Pipe nipple. Let's clean this tape end up a little bit. I'm going to do a fresh break. Okay. I'm going to do 3 on this, like I did the other fittings earlier, just because I've had a little issue with them leaking. I don't know if leak is the word, but you can see a little residue coming through a few. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Feels good. Man, although that barb's not, or that little tag's not, let's see if you can see it. It's right there. Oh, it's not in the way. I did thread it in partially, and it didn't seem to catch anything. I'm going to take it off just for peace of mind. With something. A knife or something? Let me grab something. There we go. Done with my tape. I put the tape away. It's in my pocket. Let's see if I can find my knife. Yeah, I think I'm up on it. Must be tired today. I'm putting stuff in funny places and not remembering where I'm putting them. Quite indicative of a tired Adam. Here we go. So I'm going to clean. I got my trusty utility knife here. My high school girlfriend got me this knife. How many years ago was that? 14 years ago I've had this knife. I've put so many hours on this knife, and it's still together. It's my favorite knife. It's got a really coarse grip on it. It's nice and light. I've never had any issues with it. This is my favorite knife. And I lost it for a couple years, and I found it again. Kind of got it under my socket wrench. This is my favorite knife. I love this knife. Okay, here we go. And careful you don't cut your face off or your thumb when you're using knives, guys. I'm quite guilty of that, or more guilty than I'd like to be. A couple years ago, here we go. A couple years ago, I was up north with my buddy up at his cabin for 4th of July. and we were out making fishing spears, and I sure as heck got my hand really good with a big old Bowie knife. Man, I don't know if you can see the scar there. Probably not. Maybe. Probably not. I don't know. Oh yeah, maybe. But anyways, I cut my finger from, let's see, you can see the scar right here. From here, all the way to here with a single cut. Or from here, all the way to here on a single chop. And it cut a tendon, hit my bone, chipped my bone. And man, I could see, you know, when you break a chicken thigh and you can see the bone and the cartilage, and that's exactly what it looked like. It was gross. And I had to go to the hospital, get stitches, and then I had to go back and get it cut back open and have my tendon reattached. Luckily, the cut was so clean that the doctor didn't have to make it any deeper or change anything. He just went back in where it was at, or the same cut, reattached it and put it back together. So that was cool. Got to be careful, guys. Got to be careful. Okay, here we go. Man, how cool is this? I don't know why, but fresh Teflon tape to me is very aesthetically pleasing. I enjoy the way it looks, the way it feels, and the way it acts when you're putting it all together. Something very rewarding about it. You know, the crescent wrench. Oh, I got them here. Okay, I'm gonna start tightening these up. Again, using a crescent wrench. Again, not the best wrench for precision, but these are all pretty big sizes I can grip onto. You know what, I'm going to start. This was already on here from previously, so I'm going to check to see if this is tight. Could just be sitting there, I have no idea. Yep. Whoop. And these can take a lot of tightness. You don't have to break them down totally, but you can put a lot of force to them. And like I said, once you get past about halfway through the full thread length, that's about as far as you're going to get. Sometimes they engage further, depending on the quality of the fittings, but most of the time you get about halfway, or a little bit more than halfway. And it usually you don't have any leaks. Okay, there was that. Now this is cool. I'm going to do this. This is one of these double threads again. So they're both going to tighten, and one side will stop before the other side, and it's an automatic torque adjustment, if you will. Okay. So I'm rotating. I don't know if you can see what's going on here. So one side is spinning certainly faster than the other. Whoa. Just go a little bit further. I think this coupling, or I'm sorry, this nipple in the middle, it's a low pressure nipple. So I think that's why it doesn't have the hex on it. That's okay. I think it's good up to 15 PSI low pressure fittings, 15 or 30. I think it's 15. But I'm only running up to 9 at most on this, so should be plenty strong enough for my stuff. And plus, it's not even under pressure. It's just a drain line, so definitely good enough. Okay, there's that. Let's keep going. This one's going to be a little trickier. Maybe I should have tightened it up. That's what I'll do. Oh, it'll come off. Okay. I'm going to tighten this up first. This body of this four-way is flat like this. This is machined out. Like this to save cost, but it's nice because you can put the wrench right on the fitting. Okay. pop this this male-female adapter. I'm going to tighten this up to this 4-way. And again, you can basically turn these until they stop. And you don't want to, I'm using a tiny wrench. This is only a 6-inch wrench or so, so I can't put a whole lot of force on it to begin with. If I had some bigger wrenches, you could certainly break these threads, no problem, but it's kind of a self-limiter when you're using a smaller wrench like M. I can feel this. I'm kind of fighting this thread lock or pipe dope, whatever's on there. I can see it coming through too. God, I almost have to deal with that again. I'm going to line this up so this valve stem is perpendicular of this 4-way. So when I go to mount it, everything is flush flat against the back, and I'll have access to this valve, and these are all going to be in plane with everything, so I don't have any funky angles or anything going on. So I think I'm going to just finish it here. It's pretty tight, and it looks pretty straight, if you will. Close enough anyways. Okay, there's that. Now, I kind of made a faux pas here. I pre-threaded in this fitting here, and I shouldn't have because I took it out to tighten the rest of them. And you can see just hand tightening. Teflon tape is only good for one use. And I just hand tightened in. You can see I only made it a couple threads deep. But after I hand tightened it in and I took it off, it ripped it right off. So I'm going to have to retape this fitting, which is okay. It'll come right off since I haven't put the whole thing in. Just got to find the tail to tape. There we go. Come right off. Easy peasy. That's what I really like about tape. Teflon tape. Pipe dope gets everywhere. It's a mess. It works well, but man, is it a mess. The tape is a lot cleaner. And I kind of enjoy doing it. There's something relaxing about taping up some threads. I don't know why. Oh man. Tape fell off. Let's start over. Okay, starting point points towards your rotation, clockwise in this case, with the right hand thread. That's one lap. And that's the finish line there, I think. Close enough anyways. Again, this isn't a critical fitting, so it's okay if you don't get it right. Or perfect, I should say. Okay. Stud this boy back in. Boom, boom, boom. And it's sweet. I'm glad I had all these fittings. This is going to make everything a lot cooler. Oops, push this out of the way. Push my tape off my hexes, my hex fittings, so I can put a wrench on there properly. Tighten these up. So I'm going to Silver Lake. I hope I'm going to Silver Lake in a couple days. I got the campsite reserved for Monday, and I got a lot to do on this buggy, a ton of work. Like I said, none of it's necessarily challenging or very difficult, just a lot of tedious things. You can see I've been working on these fuel lines now for 4 or 5 hours, and I'm getting near the end, but there's still probably another hour or two worth of work, and that's just one of the major things I got to get done. That's okay. You got to do it right. I have to do it again. I was hoping to get this thing together, get it together soon enough to where I could still break in the motor and work out any last bugs before taking it out on the dunes, but I might be doing all that on the dunes, which is not preferred, but it is what it is at this point. Okay, almost there. Okay, here we go. Show the end product. Yeah, it's lined up pretty good. Close enough anyways. Okay, here's going to be the new drain setup for the carbs, so you don't have to splash fuel everywhere or spill all over yourself. 1, 2, 3 carbs into a 4-way. This is all 1/8 inch fittings, so, and all I had was this 1/4 inch valve. So we're going to 4-way 1/8 inch. We got this sweet 1/8 inch male to 1/4 inch female adapter. Go up to a 1/4 inch nipple. This is a short nipple. It's a closed nipple is when the thread is all the way across, I believe. So this is a short nipple. Going into this is a needle valve or gate valve, I forget. I think it's a gate valve. Doesn't matter. Valve, and then this will be the drain going out the bottom. This is sweet. Okay, so what I'm going to do next is make a mess out of the carbs. I don't have much of a choice. I'm going to try to drain the carbs the best I can before I take the float off, or the main float bolt at the bottom, but I'm probably gonna make a mess. I'm just gonna take a water break, guys. Give me a minute. Put you up here. Be right back. Yo, Zach, you're back? Yeah, I bet they do. I bet you're right. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe I'm using the wrong tape. I didn't even think about that. That's a good point. In fact, now that you say that, Zach, I think I remember reading in the Holley manual for the fuel pump to not use Teflon tape because it has a tendency to leak. So I think you're spot on. They probably use a different tape. Yeah, that makes total sense. I think they say to use pipe dope in the Holley manual. That would make total sense. I'm too deep into it now. Maybe at some point if I change the lines or change those fittings or fix the leaks or whatever, the slight leakage, I'll use the proper stuff. But for now, I'm just going to throw together what I got. But good call, man. That makes a lot of sense. I'll be right back. Okay. We are back. So what we're going to do now is drain the carbs of fuel. I'm going to try to do this without making a mess, but a fat chance of that happening. I'm going to clean this bucket out a little bit so I don't have to deal with all this dirt and debris that's sitting in here. Second. Okay. Got our trusty bucket. I'll pop a squat here. Let's make a mess. So you guys can watch the mess. Move this camera a little bit. Put it over here. That'll do. That'll do. Okay. Here's my first carb from Mess City. I think I'm just going to go for it and take this silly bolt off. It's going to come rushing out all over my hand stuff, but that's okay. I'm just going to deal with it. You know, as soon as I find the socket and the wrench. Oh, what do I do with it? I already got it out and ready to rock and roll. There she is. No, that's all right. Here it is. Oh, here. Okay. Take our handy dandy, what was it, 17 again? 17, boy. Ooh, kind of tight. That's not that big. Okay. Here we go. Now it's already leaking. Like I said, this is going to be a big old mess. We're just going to go for it. Whoa! Okay, that was fun. That's a short thread in that bad boy. Okay. Oh, I forgot to get the jets inside the house. Let me go get those real quick. I'm going to try to change these main jets without taking this float bowl off. I think it's close enough I'll be able to get to it. So let me, I'm just going to set this here for a sec. Okay, I got the jets. I'm just going to find the right size for these jets so I don't have to monkey around with it when I get it out. Once I get it out, let's see here. Gotta find the right socket size real quick, guys. Okay, it's 1/4 inch. It's easy. Already got it out. Okay, let's take this jet out. I'll show you how this whole carb thing works here in a sec. Okay, so here's the carb. Whoop. The main jet is down on the bottom. So I can show you. See that hex boy there? That little hex thing sticking right in the middle? That's the main jet. That's what we're going to take out. So let's sort of take it out. Didn't take much. Whoop. Gotta be careful. Everything is real small and dainty. these carburetors, so we don't want to lose parts. Whoop. Oh man, I think I'm going to have to take this. Maybe not. There's a splash shield in here. Oh, I could probably work with that. Okay. Oh, no, just effed it up. Ugh. All right, well, boys and girls, you're going to see what the inside of a carburetor is going to look like. Hope you're excited for that. Use a screwdriver. I thought I was going to be able to do it maybe on the second or third one. I'll be able to get it right. That first one I just messed up. Okay, we are going to take the we're going to take the float bowl off. Yeah, you guys can see. Okay, we're going to take the float bowl off. This first carb, this is on the stator side. It's 4 little screws. I was hoping to avoid this. Not because it's difficult or anything, it's just extra work. I thought I was going to be able to... There's a little splash shield in there, or whatever it is, around the main jet. I thought it was going to stay in place, but it definitely just jumped around on me. So I'm going to have to dig into it and fix it properly. It's okay. I'll show you what inside this carb, all the magic that goes on. And this carb is pretty normal for most carburetors. Having a float bowl and a main jet and the needle and having floats inside. So this would be a good learning experience if any of you guys haven't seen this before. Okay. Whoa. Here we go. Okay, here's the float bowl off. Let me get this. Oh, wait a minute. I don't have enough hands, guys. Let me get some more paper towel out. I don't want to. You gotta be real careful when you're taking carburetors apart. You want to get a bunch of dirt and stuff inside them when you're messing around like I am. Try to set this here without falling off. Stay. Roll over. Okay, what we got here, sweet. I'll show you the bowl first. It's kind of hard to show you both how curious everything is right now. Here's the splash guard that kind of dropped and it was shaking around on me. Goes around the main jet. Okay, here's what we got. Here's the float bowl. And the reason why it's called a float bowl is because there's floats inside of it. Those little black boys in there. These are floats that move up and get my hand out of the way. These are floats. They go up and down like this. Shoot. Sorry, guys, I suck. Okay, here we go. Yeah, I can't get my big old dumb fingers out of the way. Let's see here. Here we go. There's 2 floats. Now, most of the time, there's only 1 float. This is kind of different than most carburetors, but you get the point. These are floats inside here. They go up and down like this. There's 2 of them. Boom, boom, each side. And those regulate the fuel level inside the carburetor. It acts as a little reservoir. So when you floor it, it'll suck it down and it won't let air into the line. And what happens as you say floor it, in this case, the fuel level would drop down and the floats would allow the needle valve over here, not the needle valve, but the float valve right here. The floats attached to this member right here, and there's a little valve, if you can see it, right here, little needle valve. You see right here. Sorry. Okay, so the floats would push up and down on this, and they in turn open and close this needle here, right here. And this is a directly attached or ported to the fuel intake line. So what happens, your floats, as your fuel level drops like this, that needle comes out of this little hole, it lets more fuel in, and then it brings the floats back up. And so they're always floating inside there, trying to maintain a level for you. Pretty cool. And then the sweet part, once the fuel is in the bowl, the fuel go inside the main jet right here, which isn't in place right now. But the fuel goes inside here and shoots inside the motor. Now there's no pump or anything necessarily to make the fuel go from the bowl to this point here where the main jet is. What happens is the Venturi effect. You have a low pressure zone created from the motor, and it sucks the fuel through into the carb and then shoots in. So it's pretty nifty, pretty cool. And to regulate the fuel going into the motor, you have a needle. Not off hands, wait a minute. You have the slide with the needle attached to it, and that slide goes up and down in the carburetor, and that adjusts the airflow. The slide does, and then your needle adjusts how much fuel is going into your carburetor, anywhere from quarter to maybe 3/4 throttle or so. And then at full throttle, the needle's completely out of the main jet, and whatever size the main jet is sets the fuel gas ratio at full throttle. And then anything below that, there's other adjustments for that. So what we're going to do, I hope that made sense. That was a lot of rambling, but I hope it made sense. What we're going to do is make 2 adjustments on the carburetor. The first adjustment that we're going to do is change the main jet size. I had previously, when I got this motor together before I burned it up, the main jet was too large, and it was flooding the motor at full throttle, and it acted like a governor. These motors are supposed to rev up to, say, 8,500 RPM is their peak power point on the curve. And so it wasn't able to get up to that. I can only maybe get up to like 7,800 RPM, which isn't going to cut it because I need some juice, baby. So what we got in here is a 460 jet, and this is what the end of the jet looks like, the main jet. It's this little hex boy. It's pretty cute. It's got a thread on the end. You can see, man, I just got big old Dumbo fingers. There we go. Thread on one end, and then here's the hole. That's what the needle goes in. That's what all the magic happens. Where all the magic happens, right there. And they have numbers. I don't know if they're arbitrary or not. I'm going to call them arbitrary. They may very well relate to a measurement or something. But right now, there's a 460 jet. And we know 460 is too big. We've already tested it. So we're going to go down. Talking to John Hooper at Hooper Racing, he recommended for this motor at about 80 degrees F, a 430 or 420 jet. So it's quite a few steps down. And because I've burned this motor up twice now due to fuel issues, different fuel issues, but this same end result of running lean and burning up the motor has happened. So I'm going to take it only 2 steps. I asked him about going to, since this is a 460, I asked him about going to a 450. He said you probably wouldn't even notice the difference. He said at least start at a 440. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to right to a 440. I got this little baggie of jets here. We're going to dig it out. I got 440, 430, and 420 in here. So we're going to dig out the 440. Plop her due in. See if I got my first pull. Man, that was lucky. Cool. Okay, here's the 440. Let me see if I can tell with my own eyes the difference. Yeah, I can see a slight difference in size. I couldn't put a measurement to it with my eyes, but I can certainly see a little bit difference. I wonder if you guys can see it. Different sizes. It's very minuscule. I don't know what the measurement is. It might be a 32nd of an inch or something. But they look identical. Let's see which one's which. This is the 460 in my left hand and the 440 on the right. Again, they look so similar. You almost can't even tell. Okay, so let's pop this 440 in. Call her good. Get the splash guard on. I think it's a splash guard. I honestly don't know. I don't know what I did with it either. What did I do with it then? Man, what in the world? I had it at one point in my life. In my pocket? Man, you guys see a splash guard anywhere? That little skirt thing? Jeez. What a mess. What did I do with that? Interesting. Probably looking right at it. I don't recognize it. I don't think I dropped it. Did I? Oh, come now. Come now. What is happening? That's going to be a big disappointment. Can't find that. It's a pretty big piece. It's about 1/2 inch diameter. Kind of hard to misplace. Let's see here. Let me take this down. And I'm goofing up today. You guys see a splash guard anywhere? I brought him inside. I don't think I did. Check. No, I didn't bring this. That's crazy talk. I didn't bring it inside. Oh man, I had a splash guard for the carburetor, guys. I don't know what I did with it. It's probably sitting right in front of my face and I can't see it. Do you see a splash guard anywhere? I know it exists. That's about all I know. What do I do with it? Found it. Just wrapped up in these towels. Okay. Let's put this main jet back in so we can stop losing parts. We're going to put the 440 in. Got the 440 here. Just going to plop her do. Put it through this skirt, whatever this thing is. Put the 1/4-inch drive. What else seemed to have misplaced? I'm telling you guys, I'm normally a lot more organized than this. Man, it's not one thing, it's the next. Where's my socket now? Here we go. Yep. Let's put this in. I know you can't see what I'm doing, but... Okay, that feels good. Make sure it's the right jet. It's almost hard to see the... Okay, definitely a 440. I'm just going to tighten it down. These aren't too tight. You don't have to crank these down by any means. Just enough. Okay, that feels good. While we got this carb apart, we're going to make the needle adjustment as well, so we don't have to do it. Take the carb back apart. That's right. That's right here. To make the adjustment, excuse me. To make the adjustment on this needle, you got to take the spring out in the retainer. There's a little screw in there, and then there's a little C-clip around the top of the needle, and you can adjust where that needle sits through the main jet. So this is easy. You pull the spring back, and then this is, again, for most carburetors, how it's set up. So it's a good learning. You take the spring, you pull it back. There's a little washer here. And then the cable is just in there with the interference fit, if you will. A little T at the end or a little butt at the end that hooks inside there, and it comes right off. No tools necessary. Super easy. I'm going to be careful. This is a pretty big spring. It's got a lot of juice to it, so you don't want to shoot that across or shoot your washer out of the zone. I'm going to set that down off to the side. Here's the slide and needle by itself. And here's what the inside of it looks like. And you can see that screw there. That's what I'm going to take off. So take it out. You want to be careful. There's a few little small pieces in here, which I'm sure I'll show you how to lose real easily. Just be careful when you're doing this. Okay. And these needles can be somewhat fragile. You don't want to bend the needle when you're messing around with it. I need a working surface, or a better one anyways. I meant to get a cart that I could pull around with me with a little work surface and place to put my tools out. That should be my next major purchase. A little tool cart. Okay. Okay, let me grab another tray, I think, so I'm not messing around. I'm going to have a free tray. Don't have one. Slow speed. Got a bunch of other nonsense in my other tool trays right now. Don't feel like messing around with, so we're going to clean out one of these boys. Okay, there we go. Ugh. And again, when you're doing carb stuff, try not to get any dust or particles or whatever on your pieces, because it'll just raise hell in the future. Okay. So I took that little retainer out with the screw. Here it is by itself. Took the retainer out. That was sitting inside the slide. Took it out. And now I can take the needle out to make the adjustment. So the needle just sits in there, and you just push it out. Whoop. Pull it out. And that's your needle. And there's a washer down on the bottom here that I'm not going to remove, where the needle C-clip sits on, a little plastic washer. I'm going to leave that in. Okay, so here's the needle valve, or I'm sorry, needle for adjustment. you can see it's got a really cool taper on it. If I was moving my hand. Tapered. This is a precision piece. Precision piece. It's got a C-clip at the end of it. And if I show you even closer, you can see all the notches for adjustment. Let me back it off a little bit. See those notches? Those are for adjustments to move that C-clip up and down. And what you're doing with that C-clip, or those notches, is adjusting the air-fuel ratio somewhere between 1/4 and 3/4 throttle, something like that. So in this case, since the needle is going up, pulling itself out of the main jet, if we move this C-clip down, it'll be richer. And if we move it up, it'll be leaner. Now you can see I have it in the top position. Mr. John Hooper said, man, that's the worst thing you could have done, and that's what burned up the motor. I had that seat all the way up to the leanest position. And that's exactly what happened. Went lean, ran hot, detonation, you're done. So what we're going to do is put that, normally he said you'd probably start off at the midpoint and work your way from there. Well, I'm tired of burning up motors, so I'm going to take it on the safe route. I'm going to go 1 notch rich to make sure, and I'll go back for adjustments later if need be. Not a lot of times, if I was to be racing this thing and trying to eke out every single horsepower possible, I'd really fine tune this in as much as I can. But really, I'm just trying to enjoy this thing and have a safe vehicle. So I'm probably going to end up running the whole thing rich anyways. And as long as it runs right and doesn't foul plugs too quickly, I'm going to be okay with it. Running richer is going to be safer. It'll run cooler and more peace of mind. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and adjust this C-clip down. I'm going to be careful now. I don't want to lose this silly C-clip. So if you can see what I'm doing here, it's kind of tough to get off, but I found if you just push the needle down something hard, parallel, clip pops right off, no big deal. I'm going to adjust it. Again, I'm going to go once, instead of the middle, which is what he recommended as a starting point, I'm going to go right to 1 step richer, just to have that peace of mind. And if I start this thing back up and I find that it's kind of loading up on me about mid-throttle, I'll go back and adjust this. But right now, we're going to do this. Okay. So here's the adjusted needle now. Whoops, sorry, adjusted clip now. Let me back up. It's 1 step past the middle for richer, and that's what we're going to keep it at. And we're going to put this slide back together. Throw this card back together and go on to the next one. Okay. Slide back out. Get all the parts for you. Okay. Here's the slide, carb slide. I'm going to put the needle right back in again. I got the washer at the bottom that the C-clip sits on. I didn't take it out to begin with, and I'm going to leave it in there. And you can see that I got this little plastic washer on the top. That's exactly what the washer is on the bottom. It keeps the needle in place underneath the, whatever this thing is, or this, I'm sorry, underneath the needle retainer. It keeps the needle nice and tight to have those 2 washers on there. I don't know if they're stock or not, but I'm going to keep using them. Okay, so drop the needle in. Boom. That's exciting. Can you see the needle? Yeah, you can see the needle. Okay, drop the needle in. I'm going to try not to drop this stuff. Okay, let's put the needle retainer back in. Okay, and here's the screw. Let's put the screw in. Just tighten it up. There's one screw that holds it all together. Pretty simple, nice design. You don't have to tighten these things too much. You don't want them to come loose, but you're not cranking these down by any means. You want to make sure you don't want to screw up the thread on these because they're in tight spots, or where the Phillips goes into. You don't want to screw up the Phillips head. So make sure you're pushing real hard when you're turning. It would not be fun to take that out if you messed it up. Okay. That slide is going to stay apart. Let's put this car back together before we put the slide back to get back in. Where's the bowl? Right here. I think maybe while I got this bowl off, I'm going to take this hose off that we're going to replace anyways. I think I have the right size hose. I hope I'm not messing this up right now. I don't think that. Let me check that real quick. If I can. Oh, that's tight. Let's see here. Let me try to get with this clamp, this little plastic clamp, try to take this off without breaking it. There we go. Okay, it came off pretty easy. Take it off, it's a nice clamp. I'll probably keep that. With that, I'm going to be able to get this off without cutting it. Oh! Woo! Yeah, that worked. Okay. There's the old drain tip. I'm going to check this hose size of this new fancy yellow hose I got. Make sure it's the right size, so I don't go too far down the wrong road. So I got this spool of yellow hose I'm still messing around with. This is a 1/4-inch hose. This looks to be correct. Yep, it is. Goes on pretty simple. I'm not going to shove it all the way on right now, but it's the right size. So everything so far is going as planned, which is excellent. Let's keep going. Floats move good. Every time you take your float bowl off, make sure your floats are always able to be moved. A lot of times when you take your carb apart, drain the fuel out of it, take it apart, put it back together. Sometimes your floats can get stuck when it's dry because there's no lubrication in there, and you got to take it back apart, get those floats unstuck, and put it back together. I had that happen to me not too long ago on this. I had to take all 3 carbs back apart because all 3 floats got stuck. I drained the fuel line because I was replacing the fuel pump, and floats went. I drained the bowls. All the floats got stuck. I had to take them all back apart and get them unstuck. So make sure that they are nice and moving. Okay, let's stick this bad boy on here. Oops. Okay, and the 2 front screws on these carbs have some tube retainers, so you want to make sure you get those back. Here's one side. Let's get this thread started. Okay. So the other side started, the tube retainer in place. I wish I had the monitor that I'm using to see what the heck's going on, or make sure the camera is actually useful. It's behind me, so I got to keep it looking behind there. I'd like to get a Or maybe a monitor on each wall. I don't know. Maybe that's overkill. Or a camera guy. Maybe I just need a camera guy. Camera person. Okay. Whenever you take these float bowls off, there is a gasket, and now normally is reusable a lot of times, but sometimes the gasket wants to stick to the bowl side, and it rips it or pulls it off. You just be careful when you take these bowls off every time. But most of the time, the gasket does stick to the carb, and it's very well reusable. Okay, just gonna tighten these up. They don't be too tight. They're just little threaded screws. Crisscross pattern, as per usual. Okay. Put that back together. Let's put the float bowl bolt back in, or whatever this is. I don't think this is considered the drain bolt, but maybe. It's probably just the main jet bolt. Adjuster, whatever. Okay, got that back on. I'll find the socket that I used to take it off. It's right here. Again, this has an O-ring on it. Doesn't need to be too tight. Okay. That was easy. Okay, let's see here. Now you can hear the floats bouncing upside down. That's a good thing. Okay, let's put the slide back in so we don't have to worry about damaging it or getting muck in there or whatever. And then we can move on to the next one. I'm not too worried about this bottom port being open right now. It is facing down, or going to be facing down here shortly, so you can't necessarily drop any dust in there or anything. But we do want to get that covered up eventually. Okay, here we go. We got the slide spring. I'm going to put that on first. Now this is a little cumbersome because you're trying to compress this spring and put these pieces together, but that goes on first. What I normally do is put the spring on. I'll hold the cable with my fingers. Let me put the slide down somewhere. Anywhere? Okay. Okay. Put the spring on. Hold the cable with your other hand. And there's not too much tension. It's a long string. That's not that powerful. Put that retainer on. Back it down underneath your fingers again. And then this is just a slip fit. Put it in the one end, slide it over. Feel it click in. Let that spring do its thing. Push it in, and you're good. That's it. Okay. Since this needle is still kind of loose, I mean, it's always loose in there. Sometimes when you mount the carbs and try to put the slide in afterwards, the needle doesn't want to go through the jet, and you got to fight your way through the intake side of the carburetor to get go through that jet. But now that I got it apart and I can get the discharge side of the carburetor, I'll be able to put it all together without messing around. So I'm going to do that. Don't have to worry about it. There's a slot on the one side, and there's a little tooth sticking out inside the carb that you want to make sure that slot goes in. One time, this is a good story. One time, I was at a buddy's house, and his dad was really upset with this snowmobile he had. Older snowmobile. It was like a 570 Yamaha or something. And it was a nice shaped sled. It was old, but it was nice. and he couldn't get the carburetors figured out, and he was so upset with this thing. And so one day I was over there just hanging out, and he's like, "Hey, you want a free snowmobile?" I'm like, "Yeah." I was like, "Is it run?" He's like, "Yeah, just the carburetors are messed up. They need to be fixed or something." So I said, "Yeah, sure." So I took the snowmobile home, and kid you not, the slides in the carburetor. Oh, and he said the problem was it stuck on full throttle, and he thought it needed a new cable or something else. And I went home, I took the slides out, and sure enough, the slides were in backwards. So I flipped the slides, I just rotated the slides, put it back together, started right it up, and I rode it for a couple seasons. And man, it was sweet. Free sled. Guy didn't know what he had. Okay, here we go. So we're going to put this back in, make sure that slot is on the side of the tooth, sticking in. And just like so. Whoop. Okay. I can see the needle's not going in the jet, so here we go. Boom. Just rotate it, make sure it fits in there. Nice. There we go. That's it. And this cap, you don't want to the cap thread, although it's a large diameter, it's probably 1.5 inches or so, 1.25 inches. It's got a very fine thread on it. You do not want to cross thread that. And you just hand tighten this. Pretty easy. Not too tight. Okay, that's it. That's number one. Just gonna do that 2 more times. We'll be good. Good, throw these back on and finish the hosing. So let's do that. In fact, I had a pretty sweet setup how I had to sit in here. I think I'm gonna go back to that. However, I did that. Here we go. Feel bad for my throttle cable. It's on its last leg as it is, and kind of bending it in awkward positions right now. Should be okay. Drink some water. Woo! It's tough work. Okay. Let's keep things